Hi, welcome back to my book club. My name is Hunter. I'm a therapist, and together we're reading The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris. If you missed last week's video on chapter 1, head to the link in the description where it'll take you to all of my previous videos. For today's video, make sure you hit like and tell me in the comments something that you thought was interesting. We're reading chapter 2, The Choice Point. Let's get into it. At times, we do things that help us move toward the sort of life we want. Let's call these behaviors toward moves. And at other times, we do things that take us away from the sort of life we want. Let's call these behaviors away moves. The diagram below illustrates this. Toward moves. When we're behaving like the sort of person we want to be, we're doing toward moves. Toward moves include spending quality time with loved ones, looking after your physical health, being caring and kind, or pursuing hobbies or interests. There is no list of right, correct, or best toward moves, says Harris. We each decide for ourselves. Toward moves are things you say and do, no matter how small they may be, that enhance your life. One of the main aims of this book is to help you do a whole lot more of them. Away moves. When we're behaving unlike the sort of person we want to be, doing things that keep us stuck or make life worse, we're doing away moves. For example, withdrawing from or fighting with loved ones, avoiding physical exercise, being aggressive or unkind, or procrastinating, and so on. Away moves can also include things we do inside our heads, technically known as cognitive processes, such as worrying, ruminating, obsessing, or overanalyzing. In other words, away moves are things we say and do that make our lives worse. They are things we ideally want to reduce or stop doing. And another big aim of this book is to help you do a whole lot less of them. As with toward moves, there is no official list. A very important point, says Harris. Any activity can be a toward move or an away move, depending on the situation. Let's unpack that. Suppose I stay in bed and keep hitting the snooze button to avoid dealing with some really important tasks. That would be an away move. However, on vacation, when I hit the snooze to enjoy a well-earned pleasure of a long sleep in, that's a toward move. Yet for someone else, that might not be a toward move. It's essential to understand this principle because it underpins everything in this book. The technical name for it is workability. If what you're doing in a particular situation is helping you move toward the life you want to build, we say it's workable. But if it's having the opposite effect, we say it's unworkable. And only you can ever decide whether something is workable for you. What triggers away moves? When things are going reasonably well, it's often quite easy to choose toward moves. But all too often, we don't get what we want. Throughout this book, Harris will use the phrase difficult thoughts and feelings as an umbrella term for all of these unpleasant inner experiences. When these difficult situations, thoughts, and feelings show up in our life, we may respond to them either with toward moves or away moves, as illustrated below. Now, unfortunately, when difficult thoughts and feelings arise, we easily get hooked by them in two main ways that usually overlap with each other: obey mode and struggle mode. In obey mode, our thoughts and feelings dominate us. When we obey our thoughts and feelings, we allow them to tell us what to do. A feeling of anger hooks us, and we obey. We shout or say mean things or become aggressive. In struggle mode, we actively try to stop our thoughts and feelings from dominating us, avoiding them, escaping from them, suppressing them, or getting rid of them. We may turn to drugs or alcohol or junk food or procrastination or withdrawing from the world or basically anything that gives us momentary relief. Even when doing so has negative impacts on our health, well-being, and happiness. Difficult thoughts and feelings hook us and pull us into away moves. Said slightly differently, when we respond to our thoughts and feelings in obey mode or struggle mode, we behave in self-defeating ways, such as bad habits, relationship problems, poor performance, etc. I highlighted the hooked part of this diagram because when we get hooked by our thoughts and feelings, we tend to do away behaviors. unhook, and move toward the life you want. Fortunately, there are times when we manage to unhook ourselves from difficult thoughts and feelings and do toward moves instead. The greater our ability to do this, the better life gets. A big part of the work in this book is getting in touch with your values. I have some here: service, honesty, independence, family, personal growth, and love. The simple fact that you are reading this book suggests you are living by your values right now. You are reading it because you care about reducing your suffering or you want to be a better friend, partner, or parent. This points to a value of being caring toward yourself or others or both. It's important for us to clarify our values because once we know what they are, we can make good use of them. We can use them as an inner compass. Another big part of this approach is to learn unhooking skills so that when difficult things show up, we can rapidly unhook from them before they can pull us into away moves. Here, the diagram changed. Hooked leads us into away moves. Unhooked leads us toward moves. Choice points. The diagram above is officially called the choice point. We can respond to what is happening with life-enhancing behaviors, toward moves, or with life-diminishing behaviors, away moves. But note the word potentially. We only have this choice if we have developed good unhooking skills. Basically, the less our ability to unhook, the less choice we have. We'll be using this concept throughout the book. But first, let's quickly consider 3 strategies for success as you work through this book. Strategy 1, treat everything as an experiment. Everything you do will be an experiment. You never know for sure what's going to happen, so please bring an attitude of openness and curiosity to each experiment in the book. If it turns out to be helpful, that's all well and good. But if it's not helpful, please either modify it to suit your purposes or drop it and move on to the next part of the book. Trust your own experience. Strategy 2, expect your mind to interfere. Whenever Harris asks you to do something that pulls you out of your comfort zone, your mind is likely to protest, thinking, that won't work for me. I'm too stupid, weak, lazy to do it. What if it goes wrong? I've tried that before and failed, or I'm not in the mood. Please remember what Harris said in the last chapter. This is basically your mind trying to protect you from uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. So when those reasons arise, there's a choice point for you. Option 1, allow your mind to dominate you to talk you out of doing the exercise in question. Or option 2, allow your mind to say whatever it wants, but don't buy into it. And strategy 3, practice is essential. If we want to become competent at any new skill, we need to practice. We can't learn new skills simply by reading books about them. Simply reading how to unhook will not give you unhooking skills. You need to actually do the experiments and practice the exercises repeatedly. Time to complete a choice point. A choice point should be pretty easy to draw yourself, but if you would like some more structure, I have a link in the description that you can go to that will take you to Harris's website so you can print out one from there. Once you've drawn or printed it, please fill in the choice point diagram guided by Harris's prompts below. There's an example of a completed version near the end of the chapter, so if you get stuck at any point, skip ahead and use it as guidance. This is what Harris is referring to. In just a second, we're going to go through each of the prompts, but here is the completed one. The first thing that we're going to do is part A. What are your hooks? I'll read this verbatim. Number 1, at the bottom of your choice point, write down 4 or 5 of the most difficult situations you are dealing with in your life today. Number 2, underneath those, write down difficult emotions that tend to reoccur and/or difficult sensations. Number 3, write down any urges you struggle with. And 4, write down unhelpful thoughts that tend to frequently occur, especially self-judgments, beliefs, and negative predictions. If relevant, also include recurrent, painful memories. Part B, what are your away moves? Alongside the left arrow, write down common away moves you make when you go into obey or struggle mode. Away moves are mostly things you do physically. However, they might include things you do inside your head, such as worrying, obsessing, or ruminating. Remember, away moves are behaviors that you personally consider to be unworkable, taking you away from the life you want to build. Also remember, away moves are things you do, not things you feel. Emotions, feelings, sensations, and urges are not away moves. Away moves are unworkable things you do in response to all the stuff at the bottom. Part C. What are your toward moves? No matter how difficult your life is, at times you do some toward moves. Begin by writing toward moves you're already doing, such as reading the happiness trap. After that, write down toward moves you'd like to start doing. Note, toward moves are about what you do, not how you feel. So you wouldn't write feeling relaxed or feeling happy on the toward arrow. You'd write down what you do differently if you felt that way. Looking back at the completed one, we see the away moves, the toward moves, situations, feelings, and thoughts. If you find it easy to fill in the toward arrow, all well and good. But if you find it hard or impossible, rest assured that's completely normal. Where to from here? So now that you have a sense of what this book is about, take a moment to notice what your mind is saying. Whatever it's saying, simply acknowledge it. If it's saying something that makes you want to persist, that's great news. At times, our minds are helpful and encouraging, so let's appreciate that when it happens. On the other hand, if it's saying something that makes you want to give up, there's a choice point for you. Do you give up because your mind says something negative, or do you let your mind say whatever it wants, acknowledge that it's trying to protect you from discomfort, and carry on reading? My biggest takeaway from this chapter is the choice point. I think it's such a great diagram. And as Harris kept saying over and over, our lives are full of choice points. Even just reading this book, if you get discouraged, you have a choice point. Do you give in to your mind trying to protect you from discomfort, or do you keep going? I'm really excited to use that tool in the future and see how Harris expands on it. Thank you so much for reading this chapter with me. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this chapter, and make sure to subscribe if you like videos like this. Tune in next week when we read chapter 3, The Black Hole of Control. I'll see you then.